What do you get when you take a Massachusetts comedian?
Drink as much as you can. Drink as fast as you can. Have some fun.
A Massachusetts politician.
And I approve this message.
Add 1 part sports, 1 part politics, and a healthy dose of unsubstantiated opinion? Sweeney Malone. Sponsored by Weymouth Bank and Plymouth Rock Financial Partners. Here's Steve Sweeney and Joe Malone.
Welcome to Sweeney and Malone. Joe Malone here. Steve Sweeney is off on assignment somewhere, but he'll be calling in tonight at about 7:30. And we got Ryan on the board, and it's great to be back on WATD. We got bounced a few weeks because of high school basketball, which, of course, is a great thing for WATD to do, bring both women's games and men's games to the listeners here on the South Shore. But it also gave us a chance to deal with our cabin fever during the month of February and come to grips with the fact that, like all of you, we were pretty much waiting for the snow to stop, and I think we've finally cracked into sort of the sunshine, and spring is just around the corner. And they say March comes in like a lion, goes out like a lamb. Ryan, you ready for the lamb, baby?
I am absolutely ready for the lamb, and it seems like the lamb the past few days. It was gorgeous out today and yesterday. I was feeling good with that 45-degree weather we had.
This will be a great spring fever type of feel, because I remember back in '78 with the blizzard and everything else, when the good weather started to come and everything started to melt, man, people were in such good moods. So we expect nothing but great and positive and upbeat moods from everybody. And, of course, my favorite time of year in terms of sports, or one of my favorites, you got March Madness coming up. So we'll have a few folks on to talk a little bit of sports tonight. And a comedian friend of Steve Sweeney's will be calling in, a guy named Tom Gilmore. And Steve Chase will be calling in right after the break to tell us what's coming up at the River Club. Last couple of weeks, he's had The Wait, which is basically most of the guys from the band. They were there, and Chrissy Poland, who put on a fabulous show. And so he tells me he's got some other great acts coming up. And then the other thing we got coming on is a small business woman who will talk about a great service that they provide, where they take all your old films and all stuff that you got on whatever the beta is and everything else, and they modernize it, clean it up, makes a great Mother's Day gift or Father's Day gift. So anyway, we got a lot going on the show. Life is good with you, Ryan?
Life is excellent with me. How about you, Joe?
You know what? Can't complain. Again, the weather has a lot to do with it, but I'm going to Nashville this weekend.
What are you doing in Nashville?
A little bit of basketball. It's the
Very
SEC,
nice.
Yeah, SEC Conference Championship, and going to do some good dining, some good music, and in general get caught up with a city that I haven't been to in about a good 10 or 12 years. So I'm looking forward to that.
What kind of food are they famous for there?
Yeah, barbecue is real good down mostly there, but they got a lot of steakhouses, sort of American food. Yeah,
all right,
so
eat some barbecue for me.
Yeah, definitely, and I'll critique it. But everything I hear about, Tennessee barbecue is pretty highly acclaimed.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
that's great. And I bet they have no snow down there either. Well, minimal snow down there.
They're expecting 60-degree weather this weekend, which wasn't always the case. You're
going to be walking around with your shirt off compared to this.
Yeah. God help us.
They're going to be blinded.
Spring break. And and then the other thing, too, is moving forward now with Sweeney and Malone. I think we're beyond all the basketball, so we should be pretty much on a regular basis here. Bill Wilhelm is calling in tonight, right, with some scores?
We might hear a few reports from Bill. He's up at the Garden in Boston for some, I believe, girls' championship basketball games this evening, so we might hear a few reports from him.
We can feel fully free to rip Sweeney apart any way we want. While he's not here, we can talk about him behind his back. Where he is he's helping a politician who shall remain nameless do kind of a video presentation for this year's St. Patrick's Day gig in South Boston. So,
is this a serious event? I'm assuming not.
No. It's a comedic event.
Okay, very good.
So that keeps him away from us. But and of course he's got his own film that he's working on that I saw the trailer for, and it looks like it's going to be really, really funny.
Which one is that?
I can't reveal the name. Just, I don't even know if it has a name yet. But he's the star of it. And the storyline is it's Steve Sweeney with 2 weeks to go in his life. But he's going to do whatever he wants to, whenever he wants to. And then the other thing that is great to know is that before we know it, Red Sox will be starting. Believe it or not. Let's see here. I think they're about 3 weeks away from opening day, so you can't beat it. And we need to keep thinking about all those things to get beyond those big snow banks at every turn you make. And in the house here, too, we've got Raynham cable TV, and all that is good. I'm looking in the camera right now. If you live in the Raynham area, you can go to Raynham Community Access and see Sweeney and the Malone. Hey, we'll be right back after the traffic break here on WATD, Sweeney and Malone. Welcome back to Sweeney and Malone. Steve has got the night off tonight. I'm Joe Malone, and thanks for tuning in and listening. And we're feeling excited about this evening's show. And right out of the gates here, since Sweeney isn't here, we thought it was very important to have another comedian with us. And Tom Gilmore, welcome to the show.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
On a scale from 1 to 10, 22. The thermometer is above 32 degrees now. So that makes me a happy man.
Right. We'll be chipping the ice off our lawns all summer long.
And by the way, and you've got a gig coming up a comedy show. Is that correct?
Yes, I do. Steve and I are going to be at the Jockey Club in Raynham, Massachusetts this Friday.
Okay.
It's a 7:30 show, and you can get tickets at brownpapertickets.com, and it should be a lot of fun.
Brownpapertickets.com is where you can get the terrific. And and so you open up for Steve, or does Steve open up for you, or how does that work?
Oh, well, I use Steve. He's very funny, and use him whenever I can. No, I'm just kidding.
And you grew up...
Are you kidding me? No, Steve's great.
You grew up in the Boston area, Tom?
I sure did. My father was from Charlestown. My mother was from West Roxbury. So, yeah, pretty much.
And you've been doing this for a while?
Been doing it for a little while, yeah. I just have a gig tonight, actually. I just stopped for dinner at McDonald's because, I make a lot of money and I'm very health conscious.
Yeah, and we appreciate you supporting McDonald's. Their stock was down last quarter, so they need your support.
I noticed their menu is getting a lot healthier now.
It is. Yeah. That's part of their great new push.
If you get the quarter pounder with cheese, it now comes with a side order of Plavix.
Oh, beautiful. Great, great.
If you buy 2, you get a free angioplasty. So,
ba-boom-boom.
There you go.
They give you a gift certificate for Brigham and Women's. So,
right.
And
Wendy's has this one. I've had this one, the Baconator. Have you tried this one?
Oh, I saw it. I heard about it. I haven't tried it.
You never had one?
No.
Oh, you're afraid to get 2 burgers, 4 slices of cheese, 6 strips of bacon.
Oh, 6 strips of bacon.
Now, you order one of these, they make you sign a DNR.
What's a DNR?
Do not resuscitate.
Oh, yeah. I would need a DNR. Jeez.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. No,
do you know what the restaurant with the most unhealthy menu is?
Geez, sounds like Wendy's, based on what you just told me.
You know what it is? It's Hooters, actually.
Is it really? Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
They said there are more artificial ingredients in their buffalo wings than there are in their waitress's breasts.
Oh, my God. Jeez. Ryan's laughing here. And at any rate, you're getting some good laughs here in the studio. But so your upbringing here, you grew up in a log cabin, or what was what kind of kid?
I grew up in a log cabin. I grew up
in Charlestown.
Oh, my God, yeah.
No,
my house was kind of strict. You couldn't ask for anything when I was growing up, My parents were kind of Irish Catholic, kind of very strict people, that kind of thing, Didn't take much to set my mother off, All I had to do was walk into a room and she'd say, will you stop traipsing through this house?
yeah, that's right.
I never even heard of the word before.
Yeah, you're in traipse mode.
What time did you come waltzing in?
Yeah. Well, look who's here. Right? Yeah. No, you're right. All of those.
Where were you out gallivanting?
Gallivanting. Very good. Gee. You're bringing it all back to me. I can hear my mother speaking. She's gallivanting, yeah.
Yeah.
If you weren't out gallivanting till 2:30 in the morning, maybe you'd feel better today.
Everything I did pushed us one step closer to financial ruin, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'd leave a light on in my bedroom. She'd say, turn that off. We don't own stock in the electric company.
Oh, gee.
Like, we don't own stock in anything. You blow it all on scratch tickets and white Russians.
The line in my house was, Edison is laughing at us. You know, the Edison company.
Yeah.
So that's funny. Very similar. Jeez.
Yep. I'm sure.
And so your mother was sort of the strict one. Your father was more laid back?
He was like the, he was pretty strict himself, too. He was just, you know. My mother had more of the, I guess more of the cliches.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I know. And then there was, like you said.
She wouldn't even call me by my first name, you know?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, you're on thin ice with me, Buster.
Oh, Buster, yeah.
You know, you better watch your step, Mister.
Yeah.
Sometimes you give me a last name, too, Mr. Weisenheimer.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
There must have been a book that they were all sort of coming up with their phrases
Reading,
from.
right,
You know?
right.
Yeah.
A manual.
Yeah, geez, that is funny. I know it. You're in the doghouse. You don't hear about the doghouse anymore, right?
No, that's true. Take it to the woodshed.
Yeah.
That was another one.
Yeah. All those expressions. I know it. Jeez. Yeah. You know, the other thing that strikes me, and I know Sweeney was this way because I hear it in his repertoire. But growing up, every kid I knew had a nickname. Today, kids don't have nicknames. I don't know why. You know, I say to my sons, you know, I'm surprised none of your buddies have nicknames. But it's just something that has come and gone.
Yeah, you think? I never noticed that. You're right.
You know, yeah.
Yeah,
if
true.
the kid's name is John, it's John. You know, it's
right.
And you know, there's kids that I see where it lends itself very naturally to a nickname. You say, if he was part of my group of friends, he would have to be known as, you know, and there's some reason why you'd be able to come up with that nickname for him. But you're right. But and from a comedic standpoint, you have any heroes that you grew up with and said, man, that guy's inspired me to get in the business? Or I'm curious with all comedians, how do you wake up one morning and say, I'm going to get up on that stage and grab that microphone? I mean, that takes a lot of courage.
Well, I always did things like that. You know, I did theater when I was a kid. You know, community theater. I worked in radio when I was a little older, and I think my all-time favorite, of course, when I was younger, I liked George Carlin. More, I guess, because, you know, he did subjects that you could relate to when you were a younger guy. I think my all-time favorite is probably just with a guy with a microphone would have been Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh, yeah, me too. I loved Rodney. Jeez, you know.
He was probably my favorite. I actually saw him. You know, Chance Langton's another comedian, was a friend of mine, and he was working with Rodney, so I got to see him a few times, and yeah, he was just great.
Yeah, we've had Chance on the show a number of times. He's terrific. Absolutely right. And again, one of those that the lines just keep coming, you know?
Yep.
So, hey, can you stick around till after the break?
Sure.
Okay, beautiful. We got Tom Gilmore, folks, a comedian who's got a gig coming up this Friday evening at 7:30 in Raynham. What's the name of the venue?
The Jockey Club.
The Jockey Club.
Brown paper tickets.
So stick around. 95.9 WATD FM. We will be right back.
Of my life.
Welcome back to Sweeney and Malone. Joe Malone here, and the vacationing Steve Sweeney is not here, but he'll be calling in later, and Tom Gilmore is here. He's one of the world-class gallivanters. We've already established that, and he's been gallivanting going back to his adolescent days. Tom, welcome back to the show.
Okay, Joe, thanks. Good to be back.
Yeah, so we're talking about some of the guys you enjoyed and so forth, and Rodney Dangerfield's name came up. And as I understand it from other people who've been on the show, Rodney really made it big late in his life. For a lot of years, he was just doing a gig here and there, and then, of course, we're back to school, and I think Caddyshack, he went through the roof, huh?
Yeah. You know what's funny? Do you know who he was very closely aligned with was Robert Klein, and he worked together and were actually very good friends and went on the road together. And it seems like an odd pair, but when Robert Klein was just starting out. Rodney was just kind of getting back into comedy. And they actually went on the road together for a long time.
And of course, Johnny Carson back in Rodney's day. I mean, he made a lot of comedians, allowed them to go to the next level, and that was before Saturday Night Live even. But I can remember seeing Rodney on Johnny Carson quite often, and never failed. You know, he'd bring the house down.
And he made Stephen Wright as well.
Is that right? Rodney made Stephen Wright?
No.
Johnny Carson. That's right. Yeah. In fact, you can still see.
And then Rodney also had that young comedian special for a while.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was
I think he introduced Roseanne and Kinnison, some of those comedians.
Yeah. Jeez.
I think that was their first sort of exposure.
So, and of course, all that stuff is on YouTube. I love,
I know you can find anybody. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's funny. And some comedy kind of is timeless, but then others, you look at it and you say, "Geez, it was a lot funnier back in the day than it is now." And
right. It seems to, in a time warp. Like if you. Like somebody like the Smothers Brothers, for example, or someone of that nature. It seems like it was rooted in a certain time period,
Yeah.
But you know what that is? I think it's the topic matter. If you're topical, it doesn't have the shelf life.
Right. Whereas if it's Rodney talking about respect, then it's that's today, yesterday, tomorrow. It still applies.
Yeah, and the topics. Joke about his wife. Joke about his drinking. You know what I mean? They're sort of timeless things. Where if it has an edge to it. Of course, if you're a political comedian, you have to just be very prolific.
Yeah.
Because it always has to pertain to what's going on at the moment.
Right. So, but you take someone like a Steve Martin. I mean, Steve Martin is you don't see as much of him now, right? I guess the few of the movies that he's done over the last 10 years or so, but he's just stand-up wise.
Well, he said one time in an interview that when he was doing films and so forth, and he didn't do the stand-up as much, but he had made the comedy albums, and of course, once you make the album, everybody's heard that material, and so he said, it's so much easier to go do a film than to write all the material that would be necessary to go do another concert. I mean, when you think, you can tell probably 5 jokes in a minute if they're a one-liner style joke. So if you have to do 45 minutes to an hour, that's a lot of jokes, and they have to be jokes that work. So, I mean, it takes a long time to accumulate that much material.
Yeah, I could see that. But even, emceeing the Oscars or something like that, or the Grammys, I'd love to see Steve Martin do something like that again. He was so good at it, and no disrespect to some of the more recent selections, but they're not even close, in my opinion. But it's funny because with the Steve Martin, so much of his humor is physical. I mean, just
true. It's a different style, right?
Yeah,
it's acting it out more.
Yeah, and you miss it. I mean, if I knew Steve Martin was coming doing a concert in Boston, boom, I'd be there in a minute just to kind of.
I saw him at the Heinz Auditorium years ago when he would, when he was fresh off.
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live.
When he still had the arrow going through his head.
Yep, the arrow going through the head. Yep.
The white suit.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And, it was such an opposite. You're just speaking about when something is popular. And, I think for a while comedy was, based, with Lenny Bruce and people like that. It was what Saul, it was based on kind of heavy political topics and so forth. So I think in a way when, some of it's just the timing. And I think Steve Martin came along at a time when people were ready for silly humor.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the Jerk. You couldn't get more sillier than that movie.
Right.
Yeah. He was so excited to see his
slapstick and physical comedy and some funny lines and so forth. Yeah.
He was so excited to see his name in the phone book. Remember in the phone book?
Yeah.
So anyway, so it's Friday night. And
Friday night, 7:30, the Jockey Club.
The Jockey Club.
You can get tickets on brown paper tickets. brownpaper.com.
Brown
Me,
paper.
Steve Sweeney, and a good friend of mine, Trent Sherwood.
Beautiful. Well, have a great week. Enjoy the spring weather, and you'll have I'm certain, a big crowd that'll be in a great mood because we have now put the winter of 2015 behind us.
Well, let's hope so, Joe. Thank you so much.
Tom Gilmore, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us, Tom, and come back on the show sometime soon, will you?
Oh, great. Thanks very much.
And knock off the gallivanting.
All right.
All right, see you, babe.
I'll just stick to traipsing.
There you go, indeed. 95.9 WATD, Sweeney and Malone. We'll be right back. We are very, very excited about our next guest, the one, the only, Steve Chase. He is the... let's say he's the new Dick Clark. He promotes music at the River Club, and he's had some great shows in the last few weeks, as he consistently has. But it just so happens I was at the last couple of shows. One was Chrissy Poland, who is a star, and she's getting to be a bigger and bigger star by the day. But she is a Marshfield native and is now touring, literally touring the entire world, performing. And she was terrific. And then the last show I saw at the River Club was a group called The Wait. And The Wait is basically the next iteration of the band, and played all their great songs, and just was a wonderful show with lots of energy in the room and lots of excitement. But Steve, I just described you as the modern day Dick Clark.
Well, there you go.
There you go, right? Exactly.
I've been called a lot worse.
Yeah, no, and you have that same kind of forever young look to you.
There you go.
Anyway, yeah, I was also saying that, the last couple of shows I was fortunate enough to take them in, and man, they were so good. I mean,
they were
really terrific.
Chrissy Poland and Ari Hess, they were great. And then the wait was a surprise factor. I suspected they were going to be, excellent, but I didn't realize how good they were going to be.
And they were so joyful up on stage, and then everybody wanted to dance, and they said, "Yeah, come on up and dance."
I wasn't expecting that either.
Right, I know it. No, there was such a great vibe in there. I'm watching the whole scene. I'm thinking, man, we're lucky to have this here. This is a great kind of perk to have on the South Shore. So what do you got coming up next?
Well, we just had Mark Cohn, and that was also another phenomenal show. I got John Gorka's coming up this Saturday, I think. Yeah, Saturday. And of course, we've got John's a tremendous folk singer-songwriter. And then, of course, we've got the wonderful Steve Sweeney Variety Show coming up next Friday.
Always a big hit. So
it's always a fun show.
That's a week from this Friday.
Yeah, the 21st. Yep.
Okay, wow. Okay,
yeah,
so just coming out of...
Actually, I think a week from this Saturday. Sorry, I was saying Friday. It's Saturday.
Okay, so just coming off of the whole St. Patty's Day, but really, part of the St. Patrick's Day celebration. So that's a fun night, fun way to go out and celebrate St. Patrick's Day.
Not to mention, are we celebrating St. Patrick's Day April 12th in Scituate now?
Yeah, that's right. It's been pushed back. Huh? Yeah. Well, those snowbanks, they're not very conducive for a group of people who want to watch a parade.
Yeah. And then April 11th, we get a great show. We get, if anybody likes the blues and stuff, we've got James Montgomery, Duke Robillard, and Johnny A. together.
Wow. Oh, my gosh.
It's a good one.
Yeah. So, okay, give me the date again. I love the blues.
That's April 11th.
April 11th. Okay. So that's a Friday night or a Saturday night?
You know what? I don't have that in front of me. I can't help you, but
wow,
it's one of those.
Okay, I'll get it. I'll get it for you. Well, okay, we're still a ways off, but
and I just signed contract with the Bodines, so we're excited about that. That's actually April 17th. So April is a busy month up there for us.
So knowing nothing about how the business works, I mean, you're basically on the phone to all these different agents, and does it have to kind of coincide with geographically how some of these people are touring? Or,
yeah, it's exactly how it works, and we've been doing it long enough. I mean, not that I've been running it for too long. It's only been like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that's long.
Long enough that we've got a reputation and people contact us.
Yeah.
Like with the Bodines, I'd been trying to hook up with them for a while, and it just wasn't happening. But then they came in, they were coming up in this area, routing on a tour, and it was able to work out for us. So
Well, that's great. And
Yeah,
and again, once they sort of find the venue, then then it becomes a rotation, huh?
It is. It becomes a home. They all like it. We treat them well, and they always want to come back. So.
And of course, there is something about live music, particularly when it's the caliber that you're bringing in. I mean, it's just a very uplifting thing, you know.
I'm trying to keep it, like very professional, and not that I don't want to do locals, because we do. We're actually going to institute like maybe a, once a month Thursday thing where people get a chance to come in and play, and on a stage with professional sound and professional lighting, and.
So there's hope for me.
There's hope for you. Actually, Joe, you can come up and sing anytime.
You just warm my heart, brother. You just warm my heart.
Yeah.
If Sweeney was here, immediately he would say, "Steve, please do not encourage it." Maybe maybe during Sweeney's review.
I think you should.
Yeah, I think it's time.
Come right up on stage, push him aside, and
yeah. I'll something upbeat. What would Frank sing? I'll wear my tuxedo too.
There you go.
All right, good. So you've got kids in the music business, right?
I do.
And
I got Sam and Matt. They're both professional musicians. They're both Berklee College of Music grads,
and they're out there. They're out there doing some gigs.
They're doing out. Yeah, they're working full time at it, and my wife she's a children's entertainer. She's actually busier than all of them combined.
and by the way, Steve, she is a doll. What a very
wonderful
charming lady. Yeah, So and do you play an instrument or?
I do, and we all play. Actually, Sam, Matt, and I and Stephanie have a band called The Gathering. We don't play that often anymore because everybody's so busy. But it's an 8-piece band with horns, and actually we get the horn section who plays with us play with N Train. And,
that's right.
Did you came to that show?
Yeah.
That was a phenomenal.
It was. I know. Those guys are fabulous. So, is it mostly cover stuff, or is it some original stuff?
Yeah, mostly cover stuff. Yep.
So, what's an example of what you cover?
Well, we do Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh, okay.
We do Bruce Springsteen, your favorite.
Yeah, my man. Good. So who's out there now, Steve, that you look at and you say, wow, I love her music or his music or their music? People are coming up the ranks now.
Well, it's funny. We were just, you mean as far as like new musicians?
Yeah, or maybe not brand new, but at least sort of in the last 5-10 years, because you look at so many of the,
and that's a tough one for me to do because it's like, I have to admit I'm a bit ignorant on the on the younger ones that are going on, but there's some tremendous players around. There's a guy named Howie Day that we're going to probably bring in, and Howie's been around for a while. He's been a little bit up and down, but he's a good one, and had some national hits and stuff. But he's back on the circuit. There's a certain circuit.
Oh, this is Howie Day here. See, Ryan goes right to it.
The dawn is breaking.
See, I've heard this song a million times, but if someone said who plays it, I wouldn't have a clue.
I would have thought it was Joe Malone.
Thank you very much. Yeah. No, I need the 16-piece orchestra. That's
I agree with you.
That's my genre. And the floor show. I've got that Vegas lounge in me. It's just dying to come out. Now that there's casinos in Massachusetts, there's got to be a place for me. And the other thing is, one of these nights we got to get Peter Wolf to come do his solo stuff at the River Club. Yeah, that
would be great. He's a little elusive to get a hold of,
Remind me of it because
I know you got a connection there.
His manager, Paul Sternberg, is a longtime friend, and it's the type of thing he loves. Those intimate. Wolf loves those intimate kind of settings, and this would be perfect for it. So.
Well, he's a busy guy. He's still out doing the Jake Giles thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's true. But he does come into those pockets of time where he has the.
All right, Joe, I'm
the
reminding you.
Okay, good. But I mean, in other words, off the air, or send me a text or something.
I will.
We'll get on it. But
where's the big Steve guy?
all right, here's the deal. I won't mention the name of the politician, but there is a particular well-known politician who has got to get ready for that South Boston breakfast that they have every year before the parade.
Oh, yeah.
And so he said, Steve, can we produce something so that I put it on the video screen, on the screen, run a video, and we bring the humor all packaged and ready to go. So Sweeney is producing that tonight. And,
oh, nice.
Yeah, so you'll probably be seeing more of it.
Is he going to be in it?
Oh, yeah. He plays the role of the political consultant who comes in to advise this politician, and the guy happens to not be Irish, so he's kind of teaching him some Irish traits, anyway, but
awesome.
Yeah, and Steve's I was telling Ryan earlier, Steve is working on a film. I saw the trailer. It really looks funny. It's about Sweeney finding out he has only a short time to live, so he goes out and does whatever he wants to do. And there's one scene where he goes into a donut shop and he's going to rob the donut for money, and the guy says, I don't have any money here. They cleaned out the safe the owner was in just a little while ago. And then Steve looks at him. He goes, okay, then give me a dozen mixed donuts. And he grabs it, puts the gun in his shirt, and runs out the door, So that's a little snippet of the style of humor, but it's funny. So, and the other thing, of course, is Steve is getting a lot of these roles, like with Denzel Washington.
Yeah,
that
he is. I saw that. I watched The Equalizer a few months ago, and it was like, all right, the only reason I watched it, I like Denzel, but I wanted to see Steve.
Yeah, right.
So I'm watching, I'm saying, when the hell's he going to be in this thing? And then all of a sudden, there he is.
There it is, yeah. Well, I'm now, I saw the American Sniper. That was the only movie I've seen of all the ones that were, nominated for the Academy Award and everything else. And the reason mostly is I'm really hooked on Netflix now. I don't know, do you have Netflix at your house?
We don't, but all kids do.
So on demand, right? So you get caught up in these series, geez, it's you binge on them, and then you go through withdrawals if you're away from it. So we're now in the middle of watching House of Cards, which is a political drama, which is good. But the one previous to that we were watching was Lillehammer, which Steve Van Zandt from the Springsteen band.
Oh yeah,
Little Stevie, he was the star of it and the producer. It was good, but it's about a guy who's in the witness protection program. He's a mobster who turned state evidence, and he decides to go to Lillehammer of all the places he could choose. And Steve Van Zandt says, I saw it on the Olympic coverage when the Olympics were there, and it looked like a cool place. So next thing you know, he's arriving in Lillehammer, and he talk about a fish out of water, but it's hilarious. And another example of stuff that not too long ago, you just wouldn't be able to see a series like that.
No.
And it's changing the whole form of entertainment. It's great.
I know.
So,
yeah, it is.
And of course the music business, that's changing at the speed of light as well. And
well, it's funny that Jim Wider from the Wait.
Yeah.
And Jim he took actually Robbie Robertson's place in the original band.
Yeah.
And so Jim's been around the thing for a long time. But he was saying one of the things, everybody in that band they were all part of the Levon Helm band also.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And so they, these guys have been playing for years and years. They've recorded albums and been signed by record companies. They're playing the same places that, 20-year-old kids are playing.
Yeah.
But it is how the whole music business has changed. It's why there's so many people out touring now. Because they're not making much money. There's no record deals to be had.
Right. So
selling music that way. They gotta make it when they can.
Wow. Can you imagine that? So
Denny Lane. Remember?
Yeah.
And Denny will be coming back, but here's a guy who started Wings with Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
And probably, I remember when they had their reunion thing tour. I think it was early 2000s, but they sell out TD Bank North. But Denny's a regular at the River Club Music Hall now, so it's like...
Yeah, exactly. But plus, I think, was he in the Hollies, too?
I forget what he was in.
I mean, he had a couple of other bands
He did.
household names. But I got to believe...
Oh, the Moody Blues.
Moody Blues, that's right, yeah. And by the way, again, the great show that he put on.
Yeah, it was.
But I got to believe these guys just love to play, right?
They do.
I mean,
No, there's no question about it.
Yeah. And, it keeps them fresh and play in front of a smaller audience and that kind of an intimate venue.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Rush is 72 years old.
Jesus.
He still comes around every year and plays, and he drives himself and puts on an incredible show, and he's got dedicated, fans who sell the place out every year when he comes. But
so my Tom Rush story is he was opening up for Bonnie Raitt at that old theater that used to be in Harvard Square, and I was working in a bar, and her manager used to come in, and so he said, "Do you want to work security? Bonnie's doing a con." I said, "Oh, sure, I'd love to." So anyway, I'm there at this VIP door, and just watching Tom Rush perform. And so the manager comes up and says, "Hey, the Bonnie Raitt band got their instruments, got a guitar stolen. They played at Penn State last week, and they're kind of paranoid, so they want someone to go down there and watch the equipment." So my roommate and I flip a coin. The loser's going to go down there and sit and watch the equipment while the other guy is up where all the action is and watching Tom Raitt. So anyway, I lose the flip. Well, I go downstairs, and there's Bonnie Raitt with her whole band, and they're banging down drinks and everything else, and I'm part of the fun, So I'm thinking to myself, some days you think when you lost, you really won,
Yeah, they don't know how fun the green room actually is.
Yeah, exactly. So it was good. But again, geez, I thought Tom looked a little bit old back then, and that was 1978,
He probably looks younger now.
Yeah, it could be. You're right. He's probably living less hard these days.
Yeah.
So,
he's a great guy, too. He's got wonderful stories to tell.
Oh, I'll bet. Well, the same with, all of these guys that you've had call into the show. They've all got a book in them, I think,
Seriously.
Oh, and I know it. And, you think about on the road, how many cities they've been in, and how many people they've been around.
Last year we had Peter Yarrow, which I have coming back in June. Peter Yarrow from Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Yeah.
And, I mean, talk about a guy with a history. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as the music business, just in general.
And, of course, with the anti-war movement and the civil rights movement, I mean, he was totally ingrained into that at the same time. These
guys were like the founders of, the folk music era.
Yeah.
And it sustained itself all the way through.
Yeah.
Here we are, 2015. Peter's coming around, still playing.
Well, you mentioned Springsteen earlier. Yeah. What I love about him, and he's not the only one, but he did the Pete Seeger.
That was a great show, actually.
But so many times he'll bring someone up on stage with him, and he had Chuck Berry join him on stage one night, and again, you say, holy smoke, there is something in that guy's bones, I mean, he's just got. I don't care how old he is, when he gets up on stage, when he's got that microphone, it just comes out of him. It's beautiful to see. But Steve Chase, thanks for joining us, my friend.
All right, Joe.
To those of you who haven't been to the River Club, you should go over there. You'll absolutely love it. If you have been there, go back, because there's some great acts coming up.
Right. Steve Sweeney, March 21st. Get on down.
Amen, baby. Thanks again, Steve. Talk to you soon, brother.
See ya.
WATD 95.9, Sweeney and Malone. Stevie Wonder will take us to break, and we'll be right back after the news. Welcome back. Triple welcome back to Sweeney and Malone on WATD 95.9. And every once in a while, we love to have a new company come in and talk about how they can make our lives more beautiful, more wonderful, more rich, if you will. And tonight we have Lisa Thornton on. And Lisa, the name of your company, if you would talk into the mic, is?
My company is called Ever Present.
Do me a favor, please. Just pull the headphones off. You can put them down. Ever Present.
Ever Present.
Okay,
Yes.
and Ever Present takes all those old recordings and so forth, and ends up reviving them. Tell me what the company does.
Sure. Well, the reason that the owners of the company came up with the name Ever Present was to think of old photos and old videos, or even new digital photos and videos, to be ever present in people's lives every day, and not be tucked away in attics or in basements or just stored on computers. We need to think of them as part of our lives.
So the newest technology, we've gone from, what was the first stuff? VHL. Our first stuff was, of course, the real films, the stuff on reel.
A lot of people remember 8mm, Super 8s, the little film reels, some of the big reels, where they sat down with their families. Then the rectangular thing, what are those? Was that VHF? What was it? VHS,
yeah. And then, so now we're in
the
we went
smaller
through CDs.
8mm camcorder tapes. A lot of people have taken videos of their kids growing up, graduations and birthday parties, and just, slip and slide in the backyard.
Right, exactly. Their first steps as children.
Their first steps, yeah.
So now we're into, when you end up saying, okay, we're going to take your footage from wherever it was, one of those categories, what's the state-of-the-art thing today?
Well, a lot of people decide to use thumb drives or flash drives, USB, a lot of names for them, or just a lot of external hard drives if they have a lot of material, or a lot smaller today. And that gives them the ability to either use it on their computer, and with smart TVs, there's a lot of TVs now with USB ports.
So my wife has I'm narcissistic, so my wife has all these tapes that I've been saving, not only of the kids and her, but of course of me, that she's saying, Joe, what are we going to do with these things and so forth. So I bring them down to you. You end up, putting them through a process, and then I take a whole box of tapes, and this is probably reduced down to something that can be easily stored.
Yep, this, small little flash drive, maybe this big. We can put them on a DVD. We can make copies of DVDs if people want to share them that way. Although the DVD player is not as common in computers, people are still using them.
So within that, whatever it is, hold on one second. Oh, here's Eric, the owner of Ever Present. Put him right in. Yeah. Eric. Hello, how are you? Welcome to Sweeney and Malone. We're here with a great employee of yours, Lisa Thornton.
Yeah, she's one of the best.
Yeah, she really is. And she was just telling us, she was kind of walking me through the 101 of Ever Present, your company, but I prompted her by asking what I do with that box of VHS, what do we even call them? Cartridges.
Tapes, yeah.
Tapes, yeah. And so she was walking through that, but it's great to have you on the show, and I'll throw this question your way to pick up from where she was, and that is, what if I have now this new format? Can I have sort of a table of contents so I don't have to go through the thing and say, okay, here's Christmas 1989 versus here's Easter 1995? I mean, how does that all get categorized?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. As much as it's a relief if you give someone 30 tapes and 60 hours worth of footage, I mean, most of our families didn't exactly take 60 hours of perfect stuff.
Yeah.
So, one of the benefits of us is we actually have, local New England people working in the company. So what happens is you work with someone like Lisa, and after the film is put in a digital format, we'll sit with you and you'll tell us what the important stuff is. And basically we'll take that 60 hours, turn it down into maybe 20 hours or 10 hours of the best stuff, and then turn it into 5 or 10 minute bites that are labeled on a disc or on a drive. So you can, A, find what you want, and B, you can share the parts that each of your family members actually want to see in the right way. So I'm with you 100%.
Yeah.
If you just take all the old photos and videos, but you don't organize them, you're just replacing one problem with a new problem.
And not to mention then, you got family over or whatever. No, I think it's here. I'll find it. Hold on a second, and...
yeah, it kind of defeats the purpose. And, you just end up being stressed out when it's actually supposed to be fun.
Now, I was talking to Lisa earlier today, and in preparation for the show, and she said that you can do quite a bit in terms of taking something that maybe either through age or for whatever reason just is not as pleasant to the eyes in terms of quality as it might be. You can help to amp it up a little bit.
Yeah, very, very much so. And there's with computers these days, you can literally take a photo where you can barely discern anything, and you can restore it to its original quality. The way we like to do things is when people come to us, it's usually with all their family stuff, and we don't like to impose that level of restoration on people because it can get pricey. So we like to say is get everything safe and digital first, the relatively economical way, and once you can see it all again, pick out the really, really important stuff, the absolute best stuff, and then we can work some magic on that.
Well, that's great. That's great. And you mentioned cost. I mean, for the basic cost, I mean, it's not so expensive that somebody couldn't do this for their mother or father for Mother's Day or Father's Day. I mean, it's within the range of an average family, or is this something that a business really is more in the position from their budget standpoint to afford?
I'll tell you, the order minimum at Ever Present is $30. And we have some clients and businesses that spend tens of thousands. And the beauty of what we do is when you work with someone like Lisa, she can give you great advice and help you prioritize things. And, one family might have 10,000 photos and they can afford to digitize all of them. Another family might not be able to afford that, so they pick the best 500. The reality is, for both of those families at really different price points, they've still done exactly the same thing. One of the history and shared it.
One of the best things we ever did before my mother passed away, and my wife Linda took the initiative to do this, and this was when it was a lot harder to do. But they had this big reel of film from their 25th anniversary, my parents, and it was about a year or two before my father had passed away. So it was like one of the big last celebrations they had as a couple and so forth. And so anyway, she ended up getting it into a DVD, and my mother would enjoy watching it, and it had the sound, the music in the background, and everything else. But again, how many people out there must have old reels or some other, format that's difficult to deal with, right?
Yep.
I mean, so
well, you're way ahead of the curve. I mean, the reality is not, and that's why I so appreciate you having Lisa and me on tonight. Is every family pretty much knows they're supposed to get a will made and have life insurance and plan for their retirement as best they can, but people don't think that preserving their history and where they come from is on that list, and it's every bit as important. And there just hasn't been trusted local services to help out with that. And we've done our research on this, and you wouldn't believe it, but less than 5% of families in America have made any progress digitizing their history.
Wow.
Like literally less than 5%. So it's a huge problem, and the reality is if you wait too long and someone passes away, you actually lose the stories behind the photos, which is just as important.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
We really believe in what we do. We think it's super important. We're lucky to have someone like Lisa working in the home with families in the South Shore making it happen.
And it's interesting because, and I don't even know what prompted me, but I pulled out one of these videos, and it's our son, our oldest, who is, and then suddenly he's singing a song, and you're saying, remember he used to always sing that song? Oh, look at, he's doing that now. Stuff that we had totally forgotten about his little idiosyncrasies as a small child, which just warms your heart. It's great, so. And again, is there a website? I'm sure there's a website that people can go to.
Oh, yes. Yep. www.everpresentonline.com.
Okay, and the tile guy's here. The tile guy, you must have some videos, right? That
sure. I got my tile from this guy.
No way.
About
Is that right?
15 years ago.
Wow.
Yes.
Familiar.
Lisa Thornton.
I'm looking
Lisa
so great.
Thornton.
He doesn't know.
Lisa Thornton.
He's like, she looks the same.
Yeah,
right?
see that? See that? And,
Yes, you do.
And let's now look. She hasn't been prompted here. Was the tile work good, or what would you give it? An A, a B, a C?
Yeah.
An A.
No. Yeah, we're definitely happy.
All right, so there you go. Another happy.
We haven't had to replace it, and
tile
we're
show
finishing another bathroom, and we got to get that done.
So back to the subject at hand here now.
I know we have a lot
no,
more
that's
to
all
talk
right.
about.
Yeah. So what questions haven't I asked that I should have asked, Lisa?
Well, I think the big thing that I learned starting working with Eric and Jennifer at Ever Present was that this is something that people they're afraid to tackle. They're overwhelmed. They're stressed out. If you ask someone about their photo collection, it brings up anxiety and stress, and it really shouldn't. Photos and videos from your past should be something that you're enjoying.
Yeah.
And it's not something that a lot of people can do by themselves. It's kind of like going to work out and keeping a fitness routine. Sometimes it takes your friends to be at the gym with you,
right,
or a personal trainer. I think what they've hit on with this company is that working with people and not just saying, oh, I can do this with technology, I can do this myself. You really need to work with people, and that's why I'm in this role to go to people's homes and help them get started.
So you've got lots of stories of people who they finally took the step and they loved doing it and it worked out great.
Oh, yeah.
So it must be satisfying, huh?
One of my very first customers, he did a small job. He came in with a handful of film reels, and we sat down to look at them, and he wanted to look at them himself before he digitized them. And we have the equipment in the office in Newton where you can actually sit down and look at these reels. And he had seen his sister for the first time, who had died very young from I think leukemia, and you could tell he was just really touched. And I couldn't believe how I reacted, and he was a perfect stranger, and I never knew his sister, and then he shared it with his mom on Thanksgiving. He took a trip to Florida and brought it to them.
Yeah,
and,
I can tell again just by the little story I told you about seeing your child again when he's like 3 years old. Like, oh my God, I've seen still pictures, but there's nothing like it when the kid is running around, everything else. Yeah, and I look so young and handsome in the pictures. I'm beautiful, head of hair. By the way, Eric, I was given some important information. I understand your wife is originally from Kentucky.
That she is.
Wow. Now I have to ask you the most important question, and that is she a Louisville basketball fan or is she a University of Kentucky fan?
She's not only a University of Kentucky fan, she's a University of Kentucky graduate.
Wow. All right. And my son is at UK, and he's a walk-on the basketball team. So I told Lisa, if it turned out that it was the opposite, I would have to politely, say, well, it's been nice having you on the show. So she must be...
And I would have understood completely.
Yeah, right, exactly, right? And she must be very...
on the UK basketball team means he's almost in the NBA. That's impressive.
Well, he won't be going on to the NBA, but he's had an amazing 4-year run, and we were down there last week for parents. It was actually Senior Day, so that was pretty cool. We got to go out on Rupp Arena court, and they had this whole ceremony.
I lived in Lexington for a couple of years, and I met Jennifer down there. It is a beautiful town, a great.
It really is, and people are so friendly.
Yep.
So, and it's basketball, horse racing, and bourbon, right?
Yeah, I in retrospect, I'm not sure why I moved home.
Yeah. Well, and so this week we're going to Nashville to see them play in the SEC tournament. So, at any rate.
Well, we're glad you moved home, Eric, because otherwise you'd be doing this in Kentucky and not in Massachusetts.
So do you commute to Newton every day, or how does this work?
No, not every day. I go up there definitely every week, sometimes another day. I'm glad because it's my own stopping ground, even though I've been on the South Shore for 20 years, more than 20 years. But I'm on the South Shore so I can go directly to people's homes.
Okay.
And work with them at their collections and give them estimates and schedule maybe a 2-hour organizing appointment. Come back maybe a couple weeks later, do another 2 hours so we can get through this material.
So I may have to be the case study here. I'm going to have my wife call you, and we'll put something together. Maybe just a small fraction of the number of tapes we have with the specializing in the kids. But
a lot of people start that way. That's exactly it. It's too maybe budgeting wise it's too much, or maybe it's just too overwhelming. Or you're just not sure how it's going to come out.
Or some of the stuff I'd rather not. The political stuff I'd rather just throw away anyway. But
they get started small, and then they usually usually come back.
All right, and then what we'll do is we'll have you guys back on, and we'll talk about how the whole thing, beginning to end process, okay?
Yep.
And then we'll go from there. Do you ever have a husband and wife arguing over what they want to keep and not keep, or?
I don't have any experience with that directly. I do have experience with a husband and an ex-wife that right now I'm doing a large video and video editing job, and it's working out great. And one of my favorite stories is a husband and a wife that did surprise Christmas presents for each other without each other knowing, with Ever-Present.
Yeah.
One did a slideshow for his wife's 40th birthday, and the other one did, the husband did that for the wife, and then the wife recreated a college scrapbook that the husband had made. And the funny part of the story was both of them came into the office right before Christmas to pick up the gift and brought their son, who was very young. But he kept it all together and kept it a secret while a lot of our team was kind of smiling in the background and trying to keep it together. And they both surprised each other. So it was a great Christmas present.
So now I have to ask this because I'm anticipating what Sweeney would ask if he was here. And his question would be, okay, have you ever had anybody bring in some racy films, and say, okay, edit this or put this in a different format? That you haven't had that yet.
Well, I don't know if Eric's seen that.
Yeah. Eric?
I haven't heard of that, but I have had people say, I hope I'm not making it.
Eric says the answer to the question is yes.
Okay.
Yep. And, we have certain policies. There's certain things we will and won't do. But I'll tell you that the funniest stuff is when someone walks in with, 20, 30 tapes. They leave the store all smiles, and they run back in the store 10 minutes later to remove a few.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's right. The wife probably said, the husband said to the wife, I left that box with the folks over at Ever-Present. What? There's a couple in there that you don't want to leave. So,
it's 99.9% good family fun, and it's very rare, but it does happen once every 3 or 4 months, I would say.
This guy, believe it or not, a dentist, told me the story. Maybe I shouldn't even tell this. But anyway, I better not. I better not. No. Right. So anyway, but hey, we thank you both for being here. Lisa Thornton and Eric, what's your last name?
Nyloff.
Eric Nyloff. And the name of the company is Ever-Present, and the website is
everpresentonline.com.
everpresentonline.com. It could be a fabulous gift for Mother's Day, for Father's Day, or just prior to a graduation, or we're heading into wedding season, just prior to your son or daughter getting married. So look them up.
And speaking of weddings, get your VHS tapes done of your wedding. If you got married 20 years ago, it's a great anniversary gift. And the kids love to see it. That's what I'm doing a lot of. A lot of people start there.
Yeah, we have those too. But unfortunately, the guy that took our video that day didn't have the light on high enough. So I don't know whether can you do anything with that, Eric?
We can do a little bit.
Yeah.
It just it just depends how dark. But we'll do our best.
Okay, but anyway, but we got a whole bunch of other videotapes we can do too. But both of you, thank you very much, and thanks for all the fun and joy you're bringing to people's lives. And go Kentucky Wildcats!
Got it.
All right, thanks for joining us. We'll be right back, folks, on WATD 95.9 here at the Sweeney Malone Show. WATD, Sweeney and Malone. Nobody does it better than the chairman of the board, Frank Sinatra. The summer wind, can't wait till spring, then summer. Winter's behind us. Tile guy's in good spirits.
Yes, I am.
And everybody's in good spirits. And by the way, I want to give Lisa Thornton's phone number and her email address so that if you want to reach out to her at Ever-Present, it's Lisa, Lisa, at everpresentonline.com. Phone number is 617-505-1149. And again, a great gift for Mother's Day, Father's Day, graduation, you name it. And I appreciate them coming in. We're going to be joined in a second. Ryan, is Frank Catapano on the line? No, not yet. Okay, he'll be calling in a minute. But Frank Catapano has been an agent in the sports world with basketball players for many, many years, and has a tremendous knowledge of that whole world of highly paid. Here's Frank now. Hold on a second. Let me... Franco! Oh, yeah, you're right. Can I hand it to you by verbally right now? Great. 781-837-4900. Right now is perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Frank. Wow, there you go. So you see the good, the bad, and the ugly here. If Sweeney was here, it'd be all over me. You take a phone call in the middle of the show. That got the job done. But anyway, as I was saying about Frank Catapano, he was the agent to a number of different NBA players, NBA coaches, and I wanted to get him his take on the whole world of both college and professional basketball. He's a lot of fun, and I will not get him talking about politics because Frank will then really go off on. Here we go, Frank. Welcome to Sweeney and Malone. Sweeney is on some detail tonight. He's not here, but how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, thank you, Joe. How are you?
I'm loving life, Frank, because the thermometer is now over like 10 degrees. In fact, it's over 32 degrees. I'm starting to see all that snow melt.
Yeah, it wears you out, doesn't it?
Everything becomes more difficult. I was in the North End today, and so I go into a parking lot to park, one of these above-grade 5-story parking lots. There's not one space in there, and you can't park anyplace else. It's horrible. And, of course, with the MBTA being so inconsistent at best, then that's been a problem. But we want to talk basketball, Frank.
Sure, I'd love to.
When are you going to write a book?
Never, Joe. You got to tell too many. You got to tell the truth when you write something, and some of the truths I don't want to. I went through them. I don't want to live them again.
Yeah, and you. When did you start your career as an agent?
1981.
So, what is the biggest change from life between professional basketball players in '81 versus 2015?
Everything there's a lot more money involved, and when money gets involved, there's a lot of things change, and I think the players changed to the extent that the loyalty factor wasn't as important to the new breed as it was to the older guys. When you signed a guy back then, usually unless you did something terrible, he stuck with you.
Yeah.
And, you worked together. But today there's such a heavy competition among the agents for the higher profile guys that it's like I don't want to use the wrong terminology, but it's like the Wild West in terms of keeping your clients. And you like to establish a long-term relationship, and it's harder to do.
So when you're watching that movie, Jerry Maguire, there's some things in there where you say, yeah, that rings a bell, or
there's a certain level of guy that does that kind of thing, but I think in the end, it's not quite as flippant as that. It's a lot more, guys are more serious, and they're more cutthroat and more competitive, and I guess I never did any Jerry Maguire stuff. Just to be clear, I always said I was the Columbo of agents. I didn't look too good. I didn't drive the right car, but I always seemed to get the job done when I had a client. So I was never the Jerry Maguire type.
So I'm a Kentucky fan, of course. But what's your
I am too.
Good. And I know you go back with John Calipari a lot of years.
Sure, I met him when he first came to UMass, and John and me always had a nice relationship because he was very honest with me, and I used to tell him the truth.
And what's your take on that UK team this year? Can they run the table?
Yes, I think there's, in my opinion, I'm not trying to pretend that I'm a prognosticator. I just think that they are so much more talented, and he's got these kids playing together, and I think he's probably. Without exaggerating, he's probably got 8 NBA guys on that team, and they're playing well together. And I think that if there's anyone who's going to beat them, I would say I'd give Duke the biggest chance because they got 3 pretty talented guys themselves, and you can only play 5 at once. So I would give Duke a shot. But I'd say if I had, and I know that it's easy to pick chalk, but I think everybody else is secondary to those teams. Unless some team gets insanely hot.
Yeah. The other team you mentioned, you hear, is Wisconsin, because to a great degree, almost that same team took Kentucky right to the brink in the semifinals last year. But
yeah, they're good. Kaminsky's a good player. They got forget his name, the athletic big power forward. He's good. They got a good point guard. And they're well coached. Certainly, if you wanted to pick a third team, that's who I'd pick.
Yeah. And then the other one, Virginia. People high on them.
Yeah, I'm not as in love with them as everybody else, but I think they're very good, well coached, and really good. I don't know if they're quite talented enough.
So who would you pick number one coming out of this college crop if you had the first pick in the NBA draft?
It'd be unfair. I haven't really seen the kid from Arizona play a lot.
Yeah.
He's well thought of. If I had to pick just on the games I've seen, I like the kid on Kentucky, Towns.
Yeah.
I like him a lot, and of course you got to like Okafor, the kid on Duke.
Yeah.
Hey, but I think it's. I don't think anyone's sure who's going to be number one this year.
To me, the amazing thing is when you mention a kid like Towns, is when you compare him to the Nate Thurmans and the guys who played in the 60s and 70s who, they had good skills, but from an agility standpoint, they ran differently, they lumbered. These guys now, they're like Anthony Davis. He's like a 7-foot guard,
Oh, they run very well, and they're very skilled, some of them, and they're good. But, Nate Thurman was a heck of a player.
Yeah,
I still haven't seen a specimen like Will Chamberlain.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Unbelievable. That is
and
true.
And a competitor like Bill Russell, those were good big men.
And Jabbar. But and of course, the style, most of them play with their back to the basket. Now, the fewer and fewer big men have that kind of a low post skill, right? And I'm curious, why is that? I mean, it just takes that much more time to develop it.
I think the players the players enjoy handling the ball and shooting. Nobody likes to get in there and do the dirty work.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, like the hook shot has gone the way of the Edsel,
Well, you're fairly friendly with Kevin Statham, aren't you, Joe?
Yeah. We've had him on the show.
He talks about us if somebody could come up with the sky hook again.
Yeah.
They'd run the table. I don't know.
Again, I mean, you look at Jabbar and the success that he had. I mean, all he did was practice that shot, and it was unstoppable,
Yeah, he was 7'3" and very agile too. So it's always what works for one doesn't work for another. But they ran Niels Johnson, which you probably wouldn't even remember, out of the NBA when Bill Russell was there. He was a big hook shot guy. But back then he was only probably 6'9".
Remember Heinsohn used to throw up hooks from the corner.
Yeah, well, nobody's usually guarding that.
Yeah. By the way,
I remember when I was at Boston College, I was the manager of the basketball team, and Howie McHugh used to be the publicist guy for the
the
I don't know
Celtics.
if you ever met Howie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, he used to let all the Boston College ball players, and luckily for me, I was a manager. We could go to any game we want. He'd let us in for nothing, and we'd sit right in back of the basket. I mean, nobody was there in those days.
Oh, I know it.
Great double headers. And so I remember Heinsohn throwing that hook, and he was really in the corner, too.
Oh, yeah, I know it. I know. Boy, and you think about it. Back in those days, the Celtics were winning year after year, but like you said, during the regular season, you could buy a ticket the same day, and there were years, right, when Walter Brown owned the team that they worried about how they were going to meet the payroll, right?
Absolutely. I remember when I was at BC, I don't know if you wouldn't know him, but Jerry Ward is still the highest drafted player ever out of BC.
Oh, yeah, I remember that name, yeah.
Yeah, he was the 5th pick in the draft, and me and him used to take all the kids who'd come in to recruit on the weekend. They did, because Jerry was they thought I had half a brain because I was a manager, and Jerry was a math major, and we were very enthusiastic about Boston College. And I remember one weekend we had a fellow named Jim Barry and Matt Gukas up.
Oh, yeah, from St. Joseph's, Matt Gukas.
Jim was Rick Barry's cousin, and believe me, he was just as good, but he blew his knee out at Georgetown his second year. And Rick was fabulous. But we took them to the Garden for a playoff game. And the place was half full, and that's the game Elgin Baylor had like 61 points against the Celtics, and the Garden was half full.
Oh, imagine that. Jeez, yeah.
Yeah, it was different times. That's 1963.
Yeah. No, so the NBA now, who do you see as the premier team? Who's going to win it all?
I have no idea because I think the best team right now, that's playing the best, is Atlanta.
Yeah.
But they have no star, and that's a superstar. They have a really good team, and usually the playoffs you come down. I mean, I give Cleveland a chance. I'd still give if Durant comes back, I'd give the Thunder a chance. Obviously, there's other good teams, the Clippers, Golden State. I think it's wide open. I think it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and the Cavaliers are now pulling it together. They're starting to gel very nicely, and Atlanta though, amazing, you know. So I got to ask you,
they don't have a superstar, but they got a lot of good players.
Man, that coach is doing a heck of a job, huh?
Yeah, well, you know, every time a team wins, the coach is doing a heck of a job. Sometimes the coach, they're not winning, and the coach is doing a good job, and he gets fired.
Yeah. So we got to talk about the Celtics before I let you go. I mean, you look at that roster they have now. No disrespect to those players, but if they're going to become a challenger for the NBA championship someday, a lot of those guys won't be around. Correct?
I would say that's true. I think it all depends on whether Danny makes a move with all those draft picks he has and picks up maybe somebody who's out of favor or sick of being on the team they're on and who's a really talented player, and he packages and gets a couple of a star and a half star in there, and then it looks different. But you got to get lucky with that sometimes. I know he's got plenty of they call players assets.
Yeah,
all these draft picks. Yeah. So they got plenty of assets. The question is, do they get something for them?
And one of your clients is down in Philadelphia, Nerlens Noel, and I'm watching his progress. He's coming on very nicely, huh?
Yeah, Joe. I was looking at his numbers, and since the All-Star break, his numbers have been tremendous. He's averaging double-figure rebounds, double-figure points, and he is sixth in the league in block shots, and he's 10th in the league in. This is an amazing statistic in steals.
Imagine that, and he's 6'11", right?
Guys who are ahead of him are all 6'6" and under, unless Kawhi Leonard may be 6'7". But everybody else is a guard. Maybe 7 of those guys are guards, 2 small forwards, and Nerlens Noel.
Wow.
He's got some interesting talents, and I think people were expecting too much out of him early in the season. I think he played very poorly his first month, very mediocre his second, fair his third. February he started playing really nicely, and now he's playing really good. And I think it's part and parcel of being off the court for a year and 9 months and then getting on the court, and really, he's a very smart kid. You've met him, I think. Haven't you, Joe?
Absolutely. He's from Everett, Mass, and another Kentucky
guy. He's
a
basketball player, and I think he's figuring it out little by little, and he's becoming an interesting force. I think in 2 years, who knows? Maybe the Celtics would trade for him. And
well, or again, you got Philadelphia, who's got the kid from Kansas who's hurt this year. What is it, Embiid?
Right. Right. Embiid. Yeah.
Embiid, and then they've got potentially as many as 4 picks, depending on if some of those protected picks end up becoming active this year. But they talk about collecting assets. They've got some.
Yeah, I think they have. In 2016, they have the 30 of the 30, 29 of the 32nd round picks. So once the second round starts, they'll just have every pick.
Wow, jeez.
I'm only kidding. But you can't win games with draft picks that aren't players.
At some point
you got to cash in, and hopefully Philly can do that. Nerlens likes it down there, and he's really the coach is a good coach, and I think he's coming along really nicely. Sometimes we were too impatient. Remember, he's 20 years old.
Right, and coming off of an ACL year when he basically didn't play at all, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
and it took him a little while because when he was with Cal really pushed him hard, and Cal said he was when I talked to him about him, he said he was the hardest worker he had down there, I think New Orleans, it's taken him a while to get really back into that mentally, and he's really playing well now, and I think he's going to be I personally think he's going to be a tremendous player. I think he's going to be an all-star player for sure.
So then the last question. So the last question I have for you is because I know that your son is involved with it. So talk about this company, Coach Up. Is that what it's called? Where people can go online?
I don't know the details of how it works, but what they've done is they've raised a tremendous amount of capital, and they're getting they're establishing coaching contacts all over the country in a variety of sports. And New Orleans is one of the people they've signed. I think they've signed Edelman
and Stephen Curry
and Curry from Golden State.
So I guess the way it works is if somebody in this area, you go on the website and you say, I'm from Situate, Mass, and I have a 15-year-old son who wants to be tutored in basketball. Then it comes up who's in the area, and then there are people who are online who are saying, we used, Jack Smith as our tutor, and our son got a great deal out of it, or our daughter got, tremendous benefits from it, and so forth. And I think it's catching on like wildfire. So I just wanted our listeners to know.
I heard they're doing very well, and young people are running it, which is interesting, and I think they're really happy with their progress.
Well, that's great. And like everybody else around here, Frank, before I let you go, you enjoyed that Super Bowl, huh?
Yes, it was very good, and I enjoyed it. I especially, more than that, though, I get a big kick out of that Gronkowski guy.
Oh, my God. As my son says, he needs his own reality show. He'd put the Kardashians...
He had a hand puppet of Brady. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
And he said, I carry this around. Tom talks to me, he says, Gronk, you're not running those plays hard enough. Gronk, hustle. I mean, the guy's a funny guy.
Oh, he's so refreshing.
I get a big kick out of him.
Oh.
But I'll tell you what I did enjoy, from a basketball standpoint. Let me throw a plug in for a good friend. I really enjoyed Northeastern getting to the NCAA tournament. Bill Cohen, who's the coach there, is a very good friend of mine, and he's worked very hard, and I think he's done a terrific job. And they made the tournament this year. They won 23 games, and I think they're going to be an interesting team in the NCAA. I think they can win a game or two if they get the right draw.
That's great. Oh, I'm glad you brought it up because, I don't think it matters. Harvard's got a shot at it still, right? If they beat Yale.
Right.
Is UMass out of it? I'm not even sure. I guess they could win their tournament, right?
They're in the conference tournament.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I think they probably have to win that to get in.
Yeah. So,
everybody, BC is still in it. If they can win four more games in the next 4 days.
Yeah. Well, hey, crazier things have happened, right?
Yeah, well, they've won their last 4 games, so maybe they're on a streak. But I don't think anybody can win 5 games in 5 days,
especially in that ACC tournament.
Yeah, and especially when you're not one of the top seeds and things like that. But I think we got some interesting basketball around Boston.
Oh,
I enjoy it.
I tell you what, one thing certain: a lot of Boston kids are playing major Division I basketball these days. You see all those kids who are coming out of the cities in southern New England. They're going to prep schools, and then they're ending up in places like UConn and Shabazz Napier last year, and George Niang at Iowa State. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, the Noah Vonleh, who was in Indiana, he was only a one and done guy.
Yeah. Your buddy is down in Florida. His son, what's his name?
Eric Murphy.
Yeah, Eric Murphy's playing for Florida. So, and by the way, one of your clients was
Eric's playing in the NBDL. He was in Chicago last year. Alex is playing.
Yeah. So, and one of your clients was Manute Bol, right? Back in the day.
Yes, I was. I brought Manute Bol over here back in. I think it was 84, 85. We brought maybe 83.
7 foot 7 from the Sudan. 7 foot 7.
6, and he was a very interesting guy, and we miss him. He was a really good guy.
Yeah, I'm told at that time he made the statement, I'm the only guy in the NBA who has slayed a lion.
Well, he didn't say it. What happened was the story was out there, and what Manu told me was that somebody brought that up, that he did that, and he told me he killed the lion, but it wasn't like they were hunting lions or the lion attacked them. The lions were killing their cows. He was a cow farmer.
Wow.
And he came upon the lion when it was asleep, and he speared him and killed him.
Okay, there we go.
So he didn't make believe that he outfought the lion.
I got you.
I remember when we were he was playing for Kevin Stakem at the Rhode Island Golds when he declared for the draft, and he was drafted, and he played that summer ball for the Rhode Island Golds of the USBL, and one of the scouts asked me at a game, is he tough enough? I said, well, he killed the lion with a spear. How many other guys in the league did that?
End of story. Once you got that, you're all set. Hey, Frank, thanks for joining us. We got to have you back as we go through March Madness, all right?
Anytime, Joe. Thank you.
I'm telling you, we're just scratching the surface here. But Frank Catapano.
Well, there's a lot of stories, but some of them you don't like to tell because you could offend people even when you're not trying to.
Oh, I understand that.
You know I'm pretty good at that.
Oh,
right?
you're very Frank. You're very judicious. I'm sure you can walk us through that minefield very nicely.
Yeah, but it's more fun when you're in private. You can really get into the stories, right?
I got you. Thanks again. Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Catapano. Bye. Thanks, buddy. And we're at 95.9 WATD. I'm told we've got another legendary No. What do we got? Oh, here we go. Sweeney. Ladies and gentlemen, start spreading the news. We've got Steve Sweeney on the line, and I think we have another guest on with Steve. We've got Phil. No.
Phil I'm so sorry, Joe.
We got
the other guest had to leave. He's doing another radio.
Oh, that's all right. But we've got Sweeney. Steve, you're still there.
I am. I was doing a project that I can't mention until after the breakfast with the Speaker of the House.
Okay.
Who said, I saw Joe, I think it was about a year ago. Tell him I said hello.
I tell you, I think the world of him. He is a very, very nice guy, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves. He really does. Yeah. Hold on. Can we get him on with Steve? No. Yeah, we'll have him on and just let him know. We'll have him on in about 5 minutes. But anyway, so your production was good?
Yeah, but I can't talk about it because it's a surprise.
Yeah. No. Jeez, don't give away the secrets
did
here.
Tom Gilmore call up?
He did. And it turns out that the event is in Raynham, where we're televised on a regular basis. And so it's all working out
great. Do you happen to know the name of the place where I'm playing?
I sure do, the Jockey Club.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. And I'm there Friday, right, Joe?
You're Friday at 7:30, yeah. And then we had Steve Chase on, and Steve was plugging your show it's coming up at the River Club. And
this is good that I call you because then you can tell me where I'm playing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
Joe, the big news, of course, is your son down in Kentucky. Now, it's possible that he could, in his 4-year career at Kentucky, actually win 2 national championships.
Yeah, he's got 1 ring from his freshman year where he played on that team with Anthony Davis and Kid Gilchrist and a bunch of other great players. Now Kentucky's 31-0, and as I mentioned earlier in the show, we had the great privilege of going down there. And Sam is he's a walk-on. He's not a star. He works hard in practice, and
as far as I know, in the world of Scituate and all around New England, you're just Sam Malone's father.
That's right, and so the whole ceremony was we get to go out on the court. They present us a framed, of his uniform. Give Linda the flowers. 24,000 people at Rupp Arena are applauding, and so. The tradition is they let him start the game, So Calipari in the huddle before the game, there's 2 other seniors who are starting who don't normally start, and then there were these 2 other, McDonald's All-Americans will be first draft choices. So he says to the kid Towns, who's going to be top pick, 1 or 2 in the NBA draft, he says, I want you to take the shot on the first possession. And then he turns to Sam. He said, Sam, did you hear that? I want him to take the shot, as if to say, I know you, Sam. I know you're going to try to get the shot off, So
yeah, that's
so
funny.
so they had a lot of laughs with that.
I remember going to Situate High School games, and your son was fantastic, but this running up the score against Quincy.
Yeah. It's left some bad blood. No, Sam has had 4 knee surgeries, and he continues to play. So he's a pretty courageous, pretty tough kid.
I don't blame Sam. I blame the coach at Situate High for running up the score.
Yeah. Coach Poirier, if you're listening, this is one of those things where Sweeney's being Sweeney. But anyway, St. Patrick's Day.
St. Pat it up against
against the presidents. But Stevie, you got St. Patrick's Day coming up, right?
I know. It's the breakfast and all of that. And remember that year we did it down in Situate, the St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
They have the parade. My friend Billy Johnson is running for honorary mayor of the city, and Eddie Kellogg does a good job.
That's a dirty campaign.
Yeah, hey, let's face it. It ain't, it ain't, what do they call it? Not handball. It ain't, anyway, there's an expression. All's fair in love, war, and politics.
Now, I know you got another guest coming up in a few minutes.
Yeah.
So real quick, is there anything to this Hillary email thing?
Oh, yeah, it'll bang her up. It'll nick her up. Here's what's going on. Yes. Everybody, Republicans and Democrats, want her to have an opponent. So they're trying to bring her down. I mean, it's obviously a legitimate issue, but it's selective as to how much an issue like this has legs, and they're keeping the legs going because it sells newspapers, it gets ratings, it fills hotel rooms in places like Iowa and Concord, New Hampshire. All of the people around the political industry, the consultants, you name it, they all benefit by having a contested Democratic primary for whatever it is, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. And last time, of course, with the sitting president, they only had the Republican primary. They want both primaries this time because it's good for business.
I can tell you right now that Elizabeth Warren will be among the worst candidates of all time. Why? She can't get past one question. It's that she's never been exposed. That after she says the middle class is getting screwed,
hammered.
Then if after that, what about this foreign affairs issue? What about this? What about that? She's done.
I think you're right. Hey, Stevie, we're going to bring Phil from New York in just to bring us down the stretch here. But we'll see you next week.
Tell Phil I said. Don't tell him I said anything.
Yeah, no. Tell Phil that A-Rod should not even be in the Major League uniform anymore, right?
Tell Phil that. And next week I'll be there for the whole 2 hours. I can't wait.
And give your friend the speaker my best, and we'll see you next week, ladies and gentlemen. Steve Sweeney, big ovation. Thanks, Stevie. And we got Phil now calling in, Tile Guy, and
Phil.
Look at this! What a beautiful tribute to him. Wow, Sinatra. New York, the city that never sleeps. Phil, welcome to the show. Phil.
Yeah, it's great to be back, Joe. It's been quite a while.
I know it. Well, we've been preempted by so many basketball games, but how's everything down in the Big Apple?
Yeah, good. We're coming out of we're thawing out from this incredible winter, but you guys have had it worse than us.
We have, but I got spring fever now. I feel so good. The tougher the winter,
we got March Madness.
The tougher the winter, the greater the spring fever. So we got March Madness, yeah. And before you know it, A-Rod will be taking the field with the Yankees and all of our Red Sox.
You know what? Enough of him already.
All
I cannot take it. Let that man just walk away.
All right. So as far as you're concerned, you don't even want him in pinstripes anymore.
I don't. Yeah, we don't. We don't need him as a distraction. He's 40 years old. Who knows? What is he going to hit? 220? Maybe he'll have 7 or 8 home runs.
So who is
name one of the worst contracts in the history of professional sports.
Okay, so name 3 of your favorite Yankee players of all time. Like when you were growing up, who was the man? Was it Mantle?
Mantle was the man. Mantle is up. Look, I wasn't around for DiMaggio or Ruth, but Mickey Mantle was. is up there in that pantheon of great Yankees.
And what made him so special? I mean, he just stands out because, let's face it, the Yankees had some amazing players during that era.
I think, Mantle, he was that all-American guy, a handsome guy. He did it all. He had home runs. He was clutch. He could steal bases early in his career. Plus, he was a center fielder for the Yankees. I mean, what a legendary position that was.
Yeah. Okay, so
right on the heels of DiMaggio and his great career. So,
by the way, DiMaggio,
it should. I like Joe Pepitone too.
You like Pepitone, yeah?
I did. Charismatic guy.
Yeah.
Also clutch.
Yeah.
And then they had some lean years until the late 70s when they had the Munson and Craig Nettles and Ron Guidry team.
So let's switch gears now because we're in the lightning round here.
Yeah.
But Broadway plays. Beautiful is coming to Boston. Do you recommend it? Have you seen it?
Absolutely. Beautiful is great.
And it's
coming on to Broadway.
Hold on a second. Beautiful is the Carole King story, right?
Yes,
Songwriter.
it is.
And what is it? The music that makes it great? What's the key to it?
It's the music.
Yeah,
it's definitely the music. It's right on. It's like another Jersey Boys. With different music.
Yeah, and
I would highly recommend it, and I expect you to report back to me.
I'm a great Carole King fan.
What great music she had.
Yeah. And what was the other play you were going to recommend?
Well, I say, Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm coming to Broadway. Everybody's really anticipating his sort of arrival.
And he will be on stage acting, or is he writing it?
No, he will be on stage.
Wow. So
he will be on stage. It's a limited appearance. I think it's called Fish in the Dark.
Okay,
Fish in the Dark on Broadway, and they're saying it's going to be a great show, hilarious. New York is waiting for it to open.
So, have you spotted any celebrities on the streets of New York lately?
Joe Pepitone.
Joe Pepitone. There you go. So, coincidentally, is one of your favorite Yankees.
Yeah. I couldn't be sure it was him, but it was, same body shape, same height.
Yeah, must have been. Have you seen Woody Allen around?
I have seen Woody. He tries to sneak around, incognito.
Yeah.
He wears that hat.
Spike Lee,
I have not seen. I think he's out on the left coast right now. I saw him at a Knick game out in California.
So the last play Linda and I went to see when we were in New York was Letters from something like Letters from My Lover or something. But Carol Burnett was in it. She was great.
Carol Burnett, there's a name from the past.
Right? I know it.
You like coming down to Broadway?
I do very much. Yeah, it's electric. It's beautiful. Times Square,
What about theater in Boston? Is there much?
Yeah, very good. And again, Beautiful is coming to, I think it's the Opera House before we know it. But yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, obviously nobody can touch New York, but it's good. It's good.
Joe, I heard you briefly talking with my good friend Steve Sweeney.
Yes.
You were describing the...
By the way, he describes you not as a good friend, but as an acquaintance.
Oh, you tell that Sweeney. I really want to beef with him when he comes on.
Well, you got to come up to Boston. We'll do a whole show based around Phil from New York, throw in a little bit of the tile guy, and we got it made.
Exactly.
All right.
Listen, I heard you talking about your son at Kentucky.
Yes, Wildcats.
I did watch that game. I happen to. I'm a big college basketball fan. I'm really excited about March Madness. And I was happy to see him get a start, but I got to tell you, I'm upset with Calipari, John Calipari. Give the kids a couple of extra minutes.
Well, I'll let you call the coach. I'll stay out of that. But Phil from New York,
if you could get him on the radio, I'd love to give him.
You're gonna debate him, huh? That would be the last we'd hear from Sam. Like what happened to Sam? Hey, Phil from New York, thank you, my man. Appreciate it. Sweeney Malone, we'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in on WATD 95.9.